Hi everyone, it is Maddie, and today I'm going to be discussing and informing you all about the authentic leadership theory. Before I get started, I just want to give a brief overview of what I will be talking about today. So first I'll get into some background of the authentic leadership theory. I'll then discuss what the authentic leadership theory is and some of the characteristics that can be found in an authentic leader. I'll then discuss the fallbacks and some of the advantages of the authentic leadership theory. And then I'll go more in detail about linking the theory to practice and how authentic leadership can be found in the healthcare setting, including dietetics. Ancient Greek philosopher Socrates is credited for the saying, "Know you." More than 2,000 years later, this sentiment appeared in William Shakespeare's Hamlet, with the use of the phrase, "To thine own self be true." During times of ancient Greece, authenticity was attributed only to leaders who positioned themselves. Today, leader authenticity is described more broadly. Chester Barnard, an American business executive, made the first reference to authenticity in management in his 1938 book, The Functions of the Executive. Barnard suggests that the authentic capacity of a leader should be used as a measure of executive quality. In decades to follow, unethical business practices became more publicized, which resulted in further research of authenticity in leadership. Authentic leadership was later discussed in literature in the 1960s. The authentic leadership theory has developed and evolved out of growing frustration with modern leadership, along with the positive psychology movement of humanism. Highly publicized examples of corporate and political corruption have led to a higher demand for authenticity in leadership and a desire for a more ethical approach. Bill George, a Harvard University professor and a successful businessman, is known as the champion of authentic leadership theory and research. According to George, authenticity is the primary factor in effective leadership, regardless of underlying leadership style. As I mentioned before, the term authenticity dates back to the times of ancient Greece. The concept of authenticity envelops the idea of being oneself or being true to oneself. Authentic leadership theory supports the idea that there are three factors that influence the development of an authentic leader. These are positive psychologic capabilities, moral reasoning, and critical life events. Positive psychologic capabilities include balanced cognitive reasoning and resilience. Resiliency and balanced reasoning are the skills that enable a leader to overcome difficulties, face challenges, and see alternative perspectives when making difficult decisions. Leaders with a balanced cognitive processing capability see multiple perspectives and consider all information objectively. Balanced processing includes making objective decisions while taking into account all opinions and relevant information. Leaders with this characteristic often solicit views that challenge their own when making decisions. Moral reasoning describes the decision-making process needed to address moral and ethical dilemmas, whereas critical life events refer to hardships or personal crises that enable people to grow. Authentic leaders typically have life stories in which a tragedy or sometimes series of tragedies help that leader gain self-awareness and discover the life purpose that supports the authenticity in their leadership. Overall, authentic leadership is a style of leadership that emphasizes a leader's transparency, genuineness, and honesty within the workplace. Authentic leaders possess distinguishing characteristics. One prominent characteristic of authentic leaders is the belief that humans are the most important asset. This guides the leader to lead with purpose, build authentic relationships, and make balanced and objective decisions. Authentic leaders understand and realize that they are not perfect. They are aware of their own strengths and weaknesses and have a strong desire to work toward a defined purpose. Authentic leaders make it a goal to continually develop their strengths while also working to overcome their shortcomings. Personal qualities of authentic leaders include confidence, resilience, hopefulness, optimism, and high moral character. Authentic leadership theorists have identified 5 key characteristics of an authentic leader. These include being capable of moral reasoning, leading with the heart, maintaining relationships, being self-disciplined, and having a defined purpose. Leaders who have strong moral reasoning have a desire to make a difference in the world. Authentic leaders use their deeply rooted personal values as a guide. They know the difference between right and wrong and use those values when making challenging decisions. When thinking about leading with heart, authentic leaders have compassion for others. They are open and honest with their employees, which helps build a relationship grounded on trust and mutual respect. These relationships are essential to authentic leadership. Authentic leaders view their followers as team members who all have an important role within the group. This time to develop relationships with followers results in more commitment and loyalty from those followers. It is essential that an authentic leader practices self-discipline. An authentic leader knows how to rise above pressure and stresses that could cloud their judgment. Failure to be consistent and self-disciplined ultimately leads to the loss of trust from followers. Authentic leaders practice self-discipline in all areas of life. Authentic leaders must be willing to be transparent in their workplace relationships as well as remain honest when sharing their own thoughts and feelings. This may include offering constructive feedback with team members when necessary, as well as admitting when they are in the wrong. By doing so, an authentic leader leads by example and fosters transparency and honesty among the team and organization. Authentic leaders must be able to see the long-term goals of a team and organization and encourage their team to remain focused and committed to reaching those goals. Overall, without the development of these important characteristics, authenticity cannot exist. Leading with authenticity is not a goal or a final achievement, but rather a journey. Most leaders have difficulty overcoming the self-awareness characteristic of authentic leadership. The process of understanding oneself requires courage and vulnerability. One must have the courage to be honest and be vulnerable enough to embrace even the darkest parts of themselves. This can take years of personal growth, introspection, and hard work. Many tools exist to help leaders become more self-aware. This includes personality tests such as the Authentic Leadership Questionnaire developed by Avolio. Regardless of the tools used, the first step to self-awareness is getting to know oneself and understand one's role as a leader. It is impossible to overcome our obstacles, especially the obstacles we create for ourselves, unless we understand that they exist. To lead authentically, one must discover and reflect on one's own strengths and weaknesses. Becoming an authentic leader also takes adopting the humanistic belief that all people are good at their core and are striving to do their best. This is especially important when developing leader-follower relationships. The authentic leadership theory relies on the bonded natural relationship between leader and follower. The development of the leader-follower relationship is vital to the leader's development. An authentic leader must commit to ongoing development as a leader to be effective and truly authentic within the workplace. The following are steps you can take to become more authentic as a leader. Practice self-awareness, identify your values, lead by example, sharpen your communication skills, and find and use a trustworthy mentor. Critics of the authentic leadership theory argue that leading with one's true self is impossible, and that the attempt to lead authentically could lead to destructive dynamics within organizations. Some even argue that the authentic leadership model refuses to acknowledge the imperfections of individuals and exempts a collective or organizational self over an individual self, despite its claims to seek one's true self. In an article that examines authentic leadership through the object relations theory, it is thought that an authentic leader is one who is so totally absorbed into the organization that they become an object lacking subjectivity. After looking into the authentic leadership theory, I could not disagree more with the statements made within the article. An authentic leader is not totally absorbed into the organization, but instead is constantly taking into account the needs and wants of their followers. An authentic leader does not get too absorbed into the organization because they are self-aware both inside and outside of the workplace. Authentic leaders in the workplace inspire effective action and overall success. According to a study in the Leadership and Organization Development Journal, employees' perception of authentic leadership serves as the strongest predictor of job satisfaction and can have a positive impact on work-related attitudes and happiness. A majority of employees believe authenticity in the workplace leads to several benefits, including better relationships with colleagues, higher levels of trust, greater productivity, and a more positive working environment. According to the Harvard School of Business, investing the time and effort into becoming an authentic leader can be immensely valuable when seeking to advance in your career and making a lasting impact. Authentic leadership has been widely researched in areas of nursing and healthcare administration. Authentic leadership has positive implications for healthcare settings, including improved patient care, job satisfaction, motivation, collaboration, and knowledge sharing. In healthcare organizations, managers are responsible for facilitating the conditions of care providers' work by framing the quality of support, information, and resources available in the workplace. In the field of nursing, nurses who perceive their leaders as authentic feel empowered and supported in their work. The same can be said of other healthcare workers, such as dietitians. As discussed, authentic leadership is rooted in humanistic values, which are at the core of health professions. Overall, authentic leadership promotes a positive and healthy work environment where everyone feels respected, trusted, and appreciated for their contributions. This is especially important in the healthcare setting, where teams of healthcare professionals work together to provide patient care. The dietetics profession requires constant training, skill development, and meeting raising qualifications. To be successful in the profession, the following characteristics are necessary: compulsiveness, responsibility, independence in action, communication skills, sensitivity, and empathy. Empathy in the clinical context is defined as the adequate understanding of the inner processes of the patient concerning their health-related problems. In this context, empathy, which is very closely related to moral attitude, is of particular importance. Moral attitude, which is a characteristic of authentic leadership, determines the correct relationship between dietitian and patient. An article published in Today's Dietitian discusses the leadership skills needed to be successful as a leader in the field of dietetics. Of the skills mentioned, authenticity is one of them. The article discusses how there is a wide variety of leadership styles. Some leaders are visionaries or coaches, while others are more autocratic or task-oriented. For example, merging a nutrition business and medical practice may take the sensitive negotiating of one leader, while enforcing a turnaround of a corporate wellness company may take a more assertive authority. But no matter what leadership style dietitians have, being true to that particular style is what matters, and this is where authenticity comes in. Like I mentioned earlier, becoming an authentic leader is not a final achievement, but instead a journey. Now is the time to start the journey to becoming an authentic leader. As dietetic graduate students taking this particular leadership course, the different leadership styles are being brought to attention. While right now we may see ourselves as followers, it is only a matter of time before we may find ourselves in a leadership position. No matter what leadership style you fit into, staying authentic and true to oneself seems to be of utmost importance to be successful. An authentic leader is well aware of their strengths and weaknesses. The Strengths Finder test has already given insight into what strengths we may possess. Now is the time to act on and grow those strengths. To be an authentic leader, one must continue to develop those defined strengths while also overcoming weaknesses. Another quality of authentic leadership is self-discipline. As graduate students, we have been practicing this for a while now while completing schoolwork. To be an authentic leader, we can carry this self-discipline with us as we move towards our careers in dietetics. This self-discipline will not only help gain the trust of followers, but as a follower, it can help gain the trust of our leader as well. Remaining self-disciplined in all areas of life can help us become more authentic leaders in the future. As students who have not yet been thrown into a career, it is easy to overlook morals and personal values. Being well aware of the values held dear to us can ensure we fall into a career where those values are not overlooked. Leaders who have strong moral reasoning have a desire to make a difference in the world. As future dietitians, I imagine this is true for all of us. The desire to make a difference in the lives of our patients is a perfect example of being authentic. I wanted to briefly end this presentation by taking a look back at some of the main points that I have covered. The idea of authenticity has been around for ages. It was brought to attention during the times of ancient Greece when philosopher Socrates brought forth the saying, "Know you." The concept of authenticity evolved into the idea of remaining true to oneself in all aspects of life. Authentic leadership theory supports the idea that there are three factors that influence the development of an authentic leader. These are positive psychologic capabilities, moral reasoning, and critical life events. Overall, authentic leadership is a style of leadership that emphasizes a leader's transparency, genuineness, and honesty within the workplace. Authentic leaders possess distinguishing characteristics. Some of them include understanding purpose, self-discipline, self-awareness, strong values, leading with heart, establishing relationships, moral reasoning, concentrating on long-term results, integrity, consistency, relational transparency, and balanced processing. It's important to remember that leading with authenticity is not a goal or a final achievement, but rather a journey. This journey can begin by practicing self-awareness, self-discipline, building on strengths, overcoming weaknesses, practicing humanism, identifying values, leading by example, and sharpening communication skills. Becoming an authentic leader has positive effects in the workplace, which include better relationships with colleagues, higher levels of trust, greater productivity, a more positive working environment. As future dietitians, we can practice authentic leadership through empathy, self-efficacy, moral reasoning, and sensitivity. As current dietetic students, we can lead the way for incorporating authenticity in the workplace. And I would like to conclude with my list of references.